HR is really the connection point between what we're doing as a company and then what the individual employee or staff member is, and how we make those connections.
Welcome to the HR Like a Boss video series. If it resonates with you, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, or sharing with a friend. In this description, you will find social media links and where to listen to the complete podcast interview. I've embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals. These conversations create the foundation for a book on what it takes to do HR like a boss. And on today's episode, I'm joined by a special guest, my brother, Andy Bernatovicz. He lives in Grand Island, New York, was just outside of Buffalo, and he's the owner with his wife, along with his brother-in-law and sister-in-law, in a company called ASI Signage, which does architectural sign and design in both Buffalo and in Cleveland. Andy, welcome to the show.
Johnny, thank you very much for having me. I'm super excited to be on the podcast today.
So for those of you that can't see us, we have different shirts on today because when we first both got on, he and I were wearing the exact same shirt with different logos. So I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it for those of you that are watching. So we kind of eerily look similar and probably sound similar. So for those of you that know me, this is my closest brother in age and personality and looks, Andy. So super excited to have you. So the reason why I asked Andy to join the show today is not only his experience in business and owning a company, but he is my inspiration for the word boss because of his affinity for the boss, Bruce Springsteen, which is going to be a big part of the book. And I wanted to get his take on how his love for Bruce Springsteen became what it did and then influenced me as I was his kid brother following him around probably everywhere he didn't want me to be in his shadow. And listening to Glory Days and Born in the USA and all those fun songs back in the day, which Bruce Springsteen is amazingly awesome at what he does. And that's the concept of what I'm trying to get along with the book. So tell me a little bit about how you came to like Bruce and his music.
Living in Cleveland, like if you didn't like rock and roll, you weren't really a true Clevelander. And spending a lot of time listening to WMMS back in the day, Kid Leo and all those great people where they were playing lots of rock and roll. That's really where it started for me. And it kind of grew into an obsession probably 6 months later. At one point when I was a senior in high school, I had over 40 bootleg cassettes. You know, for those young kids out there, cassettes are those little things that you put into your cassette recorder, not 8-track. But they're cassettes, and I had all types of bootlegs and just loved to really just listen to his music. And more at that point, it was mostly about the beat and the turning it up really loud and just kind of singing. And then as I kind of grew older, I started to kind of listen to the lyrics. Like, in all honesty, I probably didn't listen to the lyrics when I was a kid because I really didn't understand myself and my feelings. I was just drinking beer and driving around in a Scirocco and singing as loud as I could. But then as I got a little bit more introspective and looking at myself and actually listening to the lyrics that Bruce would put together, that's when I kind of went into a different phase, if you will, of my like and love of Bruce Springsteen.
What about him attracted to your ear or to the music or to him?
Well, it was probably his passion. Like, he was passionate about everything that he did, like in his concerts and the things that he spent his time in. He put his full force there. And then as I looked back, you know, as I spent some time kind of preparing for today, I kind of went back in time through my life. And those memories just bring back so much love and happiness and joy to me when I hear certain songs, and it's probably all the songs. I literally went through all of his albums that I had from Asbury Park to Just Past Tunnel of Love to The Rising. And like, I like all the songs. Like, there are just so many and they mean so many different things to me. It's really more about the memories and his soulfulness that probably got me to that point.
Yeah, it's interesting. Passion is one of the main principles. There's two in the book. You got to love what you do, which is an easier, kind of more politically correct way to say it in work is passion. But in the book, we talk about love. You got to love people. You got to love working with them. And then you got to own it. And I always thought that Bruce like owned who he was and still does to this day. I think he's an awesome musician, and his evolution right through his Broadway show. And now I just saw recently he had a documentary about the E Street Band on Apple TV. So that was pretty cool. Probably a loaded question to ask you your favorite. My guess is you might have a list of them. So tell me your favorite Bruce Springsteen song.
The River, which is another one that we used to listen to all the time. Drive All Night, and I get shivers down my spine, girl, and all I want to do is hold you tight. So that's where I start to feel his passion, and that might be my favorite song of all time, because he just talks about what he would do for this woman that he loved, and that he would really do anything. And it kind of, he would, through the wind, through the rain, through the snow, he would just do anything for this passionate love that he had. Which song do you like? Like, which one jumps out for you when you?
I don't have as much depth. You're much. I think.
I understand.
Yeah. You're a deeper subject, deeper pool when it comes to Bruce Springsteen. I would go with 3 that stick out to me.
Okay.
I like Glory Days. Glory
Yep.
Days is just because it was just a great song, and I remember just dancing, and some of the lyrics in it I thought were really cool.
Catchy, yes.
I also love Philadelphia from the Soundcast. That's a deep, wow, it's like deep right. Song.
Real good one.
But you mentioned another one in that earlier. When I do this presentation, Rosalita has to be on the playlist. If I do a presentation on HR Like a Boss, Rosalita is definitely blaring through the sound waves, so to speak. The name of the book I'm writing is HR Like a Boss. Why did that kind of resonate with me back a few years ago when I came up with the presentation that's leading into this book? I think Bruce Springsteen had a lot to do with it. I've done some research, and I can't find why. I need to maybe look a little harder, but maybe or maybe you have a personal reason as to why Bruce is called the boss.
My understanding is back in his early days of playing, they would go to shows, and then like the owner of the bar or the place where they were playing would pay Bruce in cash, and he was kind of the front man. So he would take that cash, and then he would dole it out to all of his band members, and they were kind of like, he's from New Jersey. Hey, looks like the boss over there, kind of doling out all the money. And so that's why they kind of domed him the boss.
And I'll get you out of here on a couple of business questions. So as an owner of a small business, how would you define the purpose of HR in your organization?
Wow. Very interesting. So Bethany is the head of HR for our organization, and I would say that we've kind of developed over the years, partly because of your help and partly because just the growth of us as business owners. Early on, HR was the person who kind of just filled out all the paperwork, right? And so then you had to and I wasn't really good at filling out paperwork. So Bethany and I, in all honesty, would struggle in those times when she would be like, hey, I need this. And I'd be all kind of loosey-goosey like mom. And, what does it matter? Here we go, this and that. So she really kind of kept us in line. And then as we've grown over the last couple of years, we've really figured out that HR is really the connection point between what we're doing as a company and then what the individual employee or staff member is, and how we make those connections and making sure that there's a fit and then there's good communication back and forth between each individual and the company itself. So, they're the ones that kind of protect us they set policy, they protect us to make sure that we're kind of doing things fairly for the group, but then also, handle any problems. And, it's not just hiring and firing, even though they do all of that as well. So we're really trying to, with Bethany's help, expand that to make it a little bit more of an outreach and more of a connection rather than just a formality, if you will.
Well, that last question, and this one may be unique because your beautiful wife and my sister-in-law is your HR lead at ASI. So how would you describe someone that does HR like a boss?
I guess I would say they would do it where they could connect, like you had just said before, they could connect the business, you know, I mean, being able to look at the business from a financial side, from a marketing sales side, from the business as a whole, like as a boss, like we're looking at it from in a lot of different pictures, but then also making that picture fit with the picture of the individual.
Cool. No, I appreciate that. So today was a very special show for me. If you couldn't tell, we covered some different topics. I think Andy earned the right to come back again at another show. We'll talk maybe more in depth about sign manufacturing or how to become an awesome senior amateur golfer.
Oh,
So
you're
that's
too
for
sweet.
a later podcast video chat. But you mentioned a few things today, brother, that really meant a lot to me. So Bruce's passion for what he did, his ability to connect with the everyday common man, the fact that you thought he was different, and being different is a key principle in the book. So HR can step out from some of the perception. Even you mentioned about how HR has evolved at your company, from filling out paperwork to now trying to find a connection point between your organization, your leadership team, and then the team members and individuals that work at your awesome company. So really appreciate you being on. Thank you for everyone checking out today's episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend. And until next time, let's continue to aspire to doing amazingly awesome HR.